Old Outdoor Broad here on my second favorite stage out here in the middle of nowhere almost. There's a few folks out here on a breezy day, so I hope you can hear because I had to kind of jerry-rig muffling the mic so you don't just hear wind blowing past the mic on the camera. But what I want to do today is show you how to set up the Aliner Ranger 12. Now, before we get started, just for reference, I am going to be 70 in a couple of months. So that's how old I am as I go through this. So let's just get started. The first thing you do is you unlatch the two roof pieces. This is a hard-sided pop-up. So that's what you got to do is you unlatch it and then magic happens from there. So let me show you unlatching the roof. There are 4 total latches, 2 for the roof halves, 2 for the dormer. They're all exactly the same, so I'm just going to show you close up the one. So this is the latch. All you do is flip that down, and hopefully you can see how the roof already starts to work its way up. Okay, so I went around the other side. I undid the latch on the back side. I put on my gloves. You know, I keep forgetting these. But it's not that they're sharp edges or anything, it's that I'm old and I get cut so easily and it just drives me crazy. So I have to get in the habit of wearing gloves. So now I've got both latches. Now what we're gonna do is start just pushing it up. And I'm gonna go around the other side and push it up over there as well. Once you get it up, as much as you easily can, just on the ground, I'm too short. I don't have the leverage to get it to lock in. So I have to use a ladder. So now I'm going to get the ladder and we're going to lock it in. This is a 3-foot step ladder. I carry it in the car and I only need it to put up the roof. I do not need it to take it down. Well, I shouldn't say that. Sometimes, depending on the ground, the pins are kind of high, but I'll show you the pins in just a couple minutes. But I do have to get on the ladder. This is the only way I can get enough leverage to push this up. And you notice I'm pushing the bottom piece. Step up and do it nice and easy. Don't kill yourself. And you can hear, see, and feel it lock in. Now I'm going to go around and do the same on the other side. This is easy. There you go, real easy there. Now, one thing about this unit, when it's like this, it's really vulnerable to high wind. Now, right now it's windy out here, as you can probably hear and see. It's not super windy, or I may not even try to do this if it were super windy. But it has bars, stabilizer bars, that you put up for wind conditions. And they are right here. So on that side, it's stored along the upper piece of the roof, and what happens is when I swing it down, and I'll do that in just a sec, it's going to attach on the underneath piece, right? And then that binds those two halves of the roof together and keeps it from blowing away. Now, I do this as soon as I get the roof up. Why? These halves, without walls, no walls. As soon as I get the roof halves up, because you don't know what's going to happen. A gust of wind could come up, and as you can see, when it's open like this, there's a lot of opportunity for wind to hit it multiple different ways. So I get it locked in right away. Also, I think I mentioned in the last video when I was figuring out what I wanted to buy, one of the videos I saw was one of these blown apart. And the only thing I can assume is that they were putting it up in way too windy conditions and it just blew apart, or they didn't have it properly latched while in transit and it flew up and blew apart, or they tried to tow it in the raised position, which you cannot do. So they didn't say how it blew apart, they just say, oh look, my A-liner blew apart. So let me zoom in on the clips and the swinging of the bar for you. All right, so here is the bar along the upper portion of the roof in the travel position. It's been damaged. I just did that and it's my fault, so ignore that, but it still does what it's supposed to do. It's got one of these types of clips, just like on the tongue, to hold the tongue latch down. You take that clip off, you take the bar out, and we're gonna move it over. In these frames, what you see is the wind stabilizer bar having been locked in the position that binds the two roof halves together and provides extra strength for high wind conditions. First thing we're going to do to get the sides up is we're going to put the step down. Going to need that. And then we open the door, and it's a split door. This is the bottom half, the top half is up here. And this is going to be a little wacky because of the wind, but basically let's use our little door stop. See if that holds at least the bottom half. And here's what you do. Step up onto the step, open the top half of the door, step into the unit. So this portion of the unit needs to be clear of stuff or you would have to move it out. And then you pick it up. And latch it in. And we'll come up here and I'll show you how that latching in works. So here you can see the inside. And I'll try and get it as good as I can. But you can see on the right, you can see something shifted. That solar panel fell over in transit, and that's what I'm talking about. That's what happened. So that's your major storage area. And then you can see right there, that's the next wall. That's the back wall. Woo! And that's the wind, because sadly, this door holder that comes with this thing is really bad, and when I get a little bit longer in the setup, I'm going to have to put a bungee cord on it to reinforce it. So hopefully the wind won't blow the door into the camera again. But what you're looking at is straight in at the refrigerator, and then you can see I have some stuff right in front of the refrigerator, and where that crumpled up right there moving pad is, that's where I'm going to have to put my foot in order to get the back wall up. So that's no big deal. That'll be really easy to deal with. So let me show you that. Okay, I'm going to step up here. Take this pad, put it over there out of the way, and now you just pick up the back wall. And you clamp it in. I'll show you those clamps. Okay, it's kind of crammed in here, but this is the main storage area. This is where the dinette is, and that's the table folded up and acting as a wall, and then I throw some stuff in there, and you can see where that one solar panel shifted in transit. That's what I mean. You're not always quite sure until you've done it a gazillion times what you're going to find when you arrive on site. And this is the aisle, and I have stuff there. And then that's the bed area, and I have stuff there. So all of that has to be, you know, taken care of as part of the setup. What I want to show is the clamp. So let me see if I can get the clamp right there. And I'll show you really quickly how that works. So And I just do the one to get started. There are 2 clamps for each wall, but with the stuff in it, it's hard to get to them. Same with the dormer. You got to clear out this storage space that I just showed you with the table. You got to clear that out to get the dormer up. But how this clamp works is just like that. So you can see how that comes down. So when I put it up, I just put it up, put the clamp in, and that's what holds it. And there's 2 for the front, 2 for the back. All right, so the dormer has 2 latches on the outside, just like the ones for the roof. So I've already undone those, and because of the wind, the back piece of it, this right here with the window, pretty much popped right up. It's not entirely in position. If it weren't windy, it wouldn't have done that. I would have had to just push it up like that, and you heard it. Now it's in the upright position. Once you have that, you have the side walls, and guess what? They have virtually the same interior latch as the other. So they just go here, here, and there. And I cleared out the storage area so I could easily walk around. You don't want to be clambering over stuff and tripping and all that stuff. But now the dormer is up. Now there are 2 more latches on the walls to do, but as I put together the interior, that's when I'll do those, because right now they're hard to get to because I've kind of moved stuff around. All right, so sadly the trip has come to an end, and it's time to collapse the unit and get it ready for the road. So you start with the dormer. It's the first thing to come down. Now what that means is the area that for me was the dinette, that has to be cleared out because you've got to be able to move around, and trying to step over stuff, because this is also your primary storage area for when you're driving. So trying to step over stuff, you know, how do I know it's bad? Yeah, because I tried it, right? When I first got it and I realized, ooh, I packed it, but I haven't collapsed the dormer. So the dormer is the first thing that comes down. Now, it's windy out, just like it was when I set it up, so something may happen faster than it usually does, but let's see what happens here. Okay, so first of all, you undo the latches for the sides, and then you bring the sides down. And they're coming down nice and easy. The wind isn't blowing them. Okay, now the wall back here, you're going to pull that in, and you do that with this handle. So you can see how easy that is. You just pull it in, and the dormer is down. Now we're going to go outside, and we're going to latch it in place. There are 2 latches for the dormer, and these are the same exact latches that are on the roof part, so I'm only going to show this once. But you put that down, put this in. It's the opposite on the roof. This clamp is actually up here, and you just pop that in, and that's all there is to it. I'm going to go do the other one now. And when we set up, I mentioned there were 2 latches on the inside, 2 for each wall. 2 for the back wall, 2 for the front wall. Now, on each of the walls, one of these latches is close to the door, and you saw what had to happen when we brought it up. Basically, you're standing in the doorway with the door split, and it goes up kind of around you. And then there's a latch right there. You don't need to wander around the unit trying to find it. And it's the same with the back wall. There's a latch that's close to where you need to step in order to bring it down. So again, before you pack and block the aisleway and other things, undo the far latches and just leave the close ones for when you're actually ready to bring the wall down. So I've got a little space, hopefully you'll be able to see this, right here where I can step. I'm going to undo this latch, and then here she comes, nice and easy. All right. All right, now we're going to bring down the front wall. And the first thing is to do this with the door. Remember, it's windy, so things are moving more than they might. Now I'm going to step up. The close latch is right here. I'm going to grab the front part of the door, the top part of the door. Bring it right under. And voila, it is down. Let that go there. Close the door. Stow the step. Okay, now we're going to bring the roof down. The first thing to do is to disconnect the stabilizer bars. If you look through, you'll see one's already dangling in the back. I've already disconnected that one. Now I'm going to do this one. Okay, and these you can now use to disconnect the attachment, however it attaches up there at the peak. So you grab it, get down with your legs, and pop it up, and it just popped out. It's very subtle, but it did just pop out. I'm going to go around and do the other side. Okay, now they should both be popped out. All I gotta do is start bringing them down. Now, what's gonna happen is, as the roof comes down, these bars are gonna get closer to the ground. And so, once you get it to a certain point, you're gonna want to engage them so they don't get in your way by hitting against the ground. All right, so I'm going to engage this one. And once the bars are out of your way, bring the rest of it down. And here's the latch, same latch as on the dormer. Just put that up in and pop it up. I'm going to do the same on the other side, and that's it. It's down and we're ready to get it hooked up to the car and on the road. One last thing to share about these latches before we have our parting comments. They have a loop here for a lock. You can lock all four of them. I lock one of them, and it's just on the main roof. I don't lock on the dormer, but I put a lock on the main roof. It's on the other side, just because that's the way I am. I've never had them fly up or come undone or anything like that, but there is an option for that. The other thing I want to show you is they're adjustable. I don't know if you can see this. Let me zoom in on that. But these are the kind that has a nut here, and this attachment is a bolt, and you can tighten and loosen it. And so I found, whoops, that I had to loosen them a little because I just couldn't get it down enough. So you can adjust that, just depending on how much you need. I'm gonna speculate that the tighter the better, because it prevents movement and rubbing, and when we get to the parts that don't work so good about this, I'm going to show you some rubs that have come. Now, part of that might be because I had to loosen them. They were just too tight for me to get, so I loosened them a little, and the truth is they're probably a little looser than they should be, and I should probably pay more attention to that and adjust them from trip to trip. But wanted you to know that you can make that adjustment, so if it feels at first like it's too hard and you can't get the latch to join, you can loosen it a little bit. All right, so that is putting up and taking down the Aliner Ranger 12. Just a couple of things. First of all, this is a small unit, the Ranger 12. It's actually 15 feet. Don't ask me why they call it a 12. They make much larger models, and besides your towing capacity, you know, there's your lifting capacity. The bigger the unit is, the heavier those walls are. Everything is heavier. And so you have to be sure that you can pick up and maneuver and lift and raise the unit that you buy if you choose to go with an A-liner. Kind of a funny story, but when I went to buy the unit, I told the salesman, I have to know that I can put it up myself, because most of the time I'm by myself. And this kind of put him in a rock and a hard spot, right? Because if I break it, he's got a problem because I don't own it. If I break myself, if I get hurt, that's a whole other problem, right? And so he kind of did a little here and there with me, but the good news is he let me do enough so that I knew I'd be able to deal with it. I knew I would need the leverage, the ladder. I knew I couldn't do it from the ground, but I was very confident that I could go ahead and put the unit up. All that being said, there are hacks for A-liners on YouTube, and there are hacks for raising and lowering it that would make it easier. In particular, there's a guy who goes by Slim Potato Head, and I watched some of his videos, and he has some hacks for raising and lowering really easy, and making little tools to do things. So one day that might be what I have to do. I can tell you when I'm putting it up, I just have learned to take my time, and if it's been sitting collapsed for 2, 3 or more weeks, it's hard that first time. I put it up at home and it's a little harder, but once I get it out here, it's a little easier because it's been up. So just be aware that there are some things you can do. And then that brings me to the main point. You have to put it up. And what this means, I mentioned at home. Okay, so you saw where the refrigerator was. Now I'm learning, now that I know I'm going to be using the camper instead of the tent. Most of the time that I go out, I know what to keep on the trailer, and that makes life a whole lot easier. I don't have to take it off and on. But I do have to load up the refrigerator. And I do have to put water in the water tank, and then you got to turn on the water pump to run it into the water heater. And so to do that, you have to put it up. So what I'm saying is, I put this up twice today because I had to put it up this morning to do the finishing touches, the finishing packing, and the water and all that to get it ready, take it down, and now I'm out here. I have to put it up in order to camp. Also, this means if you're going to stop at a rest stop and you think you want to sleep in it or get a snack out of the fridge, you got to put it up. Okay, so that's important. Somebody may not want to do all that up and down and up and down. And I would say, especially if you've got kids and they want to not stop, and they want to get into the refrigerator or get a game or whatever. So just some things to think about as you are considering the A-liner. I'm very happy with it. So it works for me, and hopefully it'll work for the rest of my camping life. With that, I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the old outdoors. Thanks again.